Okay, hi everybody. I want to thank you for participating in this webinar. I really appreciate y'all being here. I am going to just kind of get started by talking a little bit about some housekeeping. The webinar instructions are very simple. We're set up for about an hour and a half, but we're not going to take that long. However, I will be around if you have questions and you want to stick around afterwards and we can talk about whatever is on your mind. If you would look at your control panel, there's a little hand icon. You can definitely click the hand icon and ask questions. The staff member who is available to answer your questions is David Tuthill. He'll be able to answer them as we go along, but also if you have specific questions after the webinar is over, I'll stick around as well and help answer them. If you would, just kind of turn off or silence your phones. Like I said, raise that hand anytime you have a question. Unfortunately, we don't have access to your applications. For privacy concerns, we just can't, we don't have any way to look up your application or to find out any specific application questions for you. But if you ask David, I'm sure he'll be able to put you in touch with the people in operations that you can call or go to the website tomorrow, log in, and get all your information. But like I said, I will stick around to answer any other questions you might have. The purpose of this webinar is to talk a little bit about the program and how you can advocate for it, how you can learn a little bit about how it works and answer any questions for people, and also just kind of advocate for the program to grow so that it helps more and more kids every year. I am your organizer. My name is Catherine Durkin Robinson. I am an organizer, not a lobbyist. Lobbyists are important. They work with lawmakers. I work with the people who hire those lawmakers. So my background is that I've been a 25-year activist with the Democratic Party, both here in Florida and in Massachusetts. I've also spent 8 years as a classroom teacher at a district-run school in Hillsborough County, Florida, and that's Tampa Bay. And so I was 8 years a teacher. I was also a columnist at the Tampa Tribune and Creative Loafing, so I spent some time doing that. And I'm also a mom. I have twin sons who are in their senior year of high school. They went to a private school for elementary, a magnet program for middle, and now they're in a district-run neighborhood school for their high school. I want you to have my email address. It's right there, crobinson@stepupforstudents.org, and my phone number. If you ever have any questions or concerns, I want you to call me. I want you to text me or email me. I'm another resource for you. If I don't know the answer, I can certainly find someone who does. So please, by all means, take down my information and make sure that you have it. You don't have to take notes during this webinar. I am going to have a recording sent to you afterwards. So just sit back and relax. You don't have to take any notes at all. I would like to know a little bit about you, so I am going to ask a question here, a poll. Let me just make sure I'm doing this correctly. Yeah, tell me what part of Florida you're from. We have South Florida. That's the Miami-Dade area, the Keys. We have Central Florida. That is on the East Coast, like, I don't know where. I think Orlando is closer to the East Coast. It might be smack dab in the middle, but we can just kind of think about Orlando as Central Florida, kind of closer to the East Coast. And then Central Florida, West Coast is the Tampa Bay area, Sarasota, that kind of thing. And then there's Northern Florida, that's up like near Jacksonville, and then the Panhandle. So I'm looking here, almost 84% of you are voting, and then I'll share the poll as soon as it's done. see, I'll just give it another couple seconds. We have 90% of you voting so far. Just wanting to know where our parents are from. Okay. So we've got most of our, it's a tie, Central Florida and South Florida. Most of our parents come from the Miami-Dade area, so that makes sense. I'm glad we've got 4% up from the Panhandle. That's awesome. Most of us on the Florida Parent Network team, we travel around the state. So hopefully before the end of the year, you'll get a chance to come out and see this in person, meet us in person, and talk to us. Okay, so our parents are the foundation of this movement. You all are the most important part. I've been organizing Step Up Parents now for almost 5 years. I started in 2013 where I just sort of traveled the state asking questions, finding out what works with this program, what doesn't work for the program. You all shared so many stories with me, and we were able to put a lot of your concerns into some legislation, a bill that was introduced in the 2014 legislative session. We are a state program. We are legislated by the Florida legislature and the governor. Those are the folks that are responsible for the laws that govern what we do. And so in 2014, we introduced a bill that would improve the program. This was everything from getting rid of that rule that said you had to leave the program and go back to public school for a year in order to sign up and have your child participate. We didn't think it was fair to have kids go all the way back to the public school that they left, or any public school. We wanted them to stay in the school where they were functioning and doing really well. So we wanted to get rid of that rule that said if you signed up for the program, you had to leave and go back to public school for a year. We also needed to provide something for the children who were in foster care or were homeless. We needed them to be able to apply year-round. They're in a situation where they can't sometimes know where they're going to be, and by the time they figured it out, the program was closed. So we couldn't have that. So this legislation was really important. It also grew our program to include more kids. We have too many kids on waiting lists, and it's heartbreaking when we have to tell children who need this program that there's no money left available and they have to stay on a waiting list. So the 2014 legislation went through. It was fantastic. We were really psyched and hopeful about it, and then the bill died second week of session. But we didn't stop. We still, I say we, it's really you all, the parents, all around the state. You called your lawmakers, you emailed them, and you got the bill passed at 9 p.m. on the final day of session. Session was ending at midnight, and this passed at 9 p.m. So that was a huge celebration. We were all so thrilled. And it really, though, a couple weeks before that, a provision had been put in the bill to say that we could no longer organize, that Step Up was no longer allowed to organize parents. So I had to leave Step Up and run an organization called Florida Voices for Choices. I was still organizing Step Up parents, I just couldn't do it under the Step Up umbrella. So one of the first things I did with Florida Voices for Choices, we picked about 5 school board races around the state. These were school board members who were against our program. They were opposed to Step Up for Students. And they were being challenged by newcomers who had a different idea about school choice. They supported the idea that parents should choose the best school for their kids. So by law, I can't tell you all who to vote for, but I can say here's who's running, here's who's for us, and here is who is against us. Please get out and vote. You all did. And all 5 of those school board races, our supporters won. So thank you, parents, once again. This wasn't good news to everybody. The teachers union was quite upset about it all, so they filed a lawsuit. They were suing the state of Florida to declare the tax credit scholarship program unconstitutional. And if they won, Step Up would be shut down. So let's put that aside for a moment and continue. So Florida Voices for Choices, in 2014, we worked on the general election as well. We picked 5 Democratic lawmakers. As a Democrat, I was sad to go after them, but they had opposed our program. They had opposed the 2014 legislation when we had needed their support. So these were elected officials who were popular in their areas, but they opposed our program. And they were being challenged by 5 newcomers who supported our program. So we let everybody know in these areas, different areas throughout Florida, you guys got out and voted, and in that general election, those 5 lawmakers who supported us were elected, and the ones who didn't were sent home. So let's go back to that lawsuit. The lawsuit was filed by the teachers union, but it was they had partners. And those partners included the NAACP, the PTA, it included the League of Women Voters, and the Florida School Boards Association, or the FSBA. Now, out of all those groups, the FSBA were elected officials. Those are school board members from all over the state. So parents, if you look at that picture with the Parent Power t-shirts on, parents went to school board meetings all over the state and demanded that the school boards drop out of the lawsuit. And about 8 months later, they did. So that was huge. It meant that the teachers union had less money, had less support, all because our parents showed up to school board meetings and called their school board members and emailed their school board members. You guys move mountains when you want to, and so that was a huge win. Blog comments are another way we fought the lawsuit. Whenever a newspaper would publish something against us, parents would log in and make comments. You guys rocked it. I mean, one newspaper in particular in Tallahassee, that's the newspaper, the Tallahassee Democrat, the governor reads it, the legislators read it, the state Supreme Court reads it, and they were trying to decide if they were going to support us or not. And they published an op-ed from the League of Women Voters, 2 women saying that Step Up parents simply did not know enough to make the best choice. And I sent that link to all of you. 250 of you logged in, made comments about how you were in fact smart enough to make choices for your kids. And the Tallahassee Democrat, that newspaper, came out in support of us and asked the teachers union to drop the suit. Another thing we did was a rally in Tally in 2016. Perhaps some of you listening attended that rally. If you did, thank you very much. We worked really hard. We got about close to 11,000 parents, teachers, students, and supporters to march on Tallahassee and to urge the teachers union and all the plaintiffs to drop the suit. We wanted you all to walk right by the state Supreme Court, and that's what you did, so that the justices could look out their window and literally see the face of our program. It was an amazing day. Martin Luther King III came and spoke, and it really provided the whole state with an opportunity to learn more about this lawsuit and how tragic it would have been if it had won. We also started to target the PTA. That's one of the plaintiffs of the lawsuit. They signed on with the teachers union to shut us down. And so you all started emailing and calling and tweeting at and posting on their Facebook wall the PTA, urging them to drop out of the lawsuit. And the following November they did. They dropped out. So then the primary and general election, more of the same. You all supported the candidates who supported you and your right to choose these schools for your children. And it was another huge success for our parents in Florida. We also worked on a bill called HB 7069, which would help our Gardiner kids. And we could get more scholarships for Gardiner parents. So those are the ways that you kind of have made your presence known. And it's been nothing short of miraculous, the way that you all have participated in the scholarship program, and also just getting the word out and making sure your lawmakers understood exactly what you need and want. Drop the Suit was the ultimate success. Last January, we won. The state Supreme Court declined to hear the case, which meant that all the dismissals from the lower court stood, and the teachers union had not proven how we harmed them. The courts decided that we did not harm them and that the lawsuit was dismissed. So we celebrated for about 5 minutes, and then we decided we needed to move on, because our job isn't done until every kid in Florida who needs a choice has one. So I was allowed to return to Step Up for Students. So Florida Voices for Choices was put on the back burner again, and I was welcomed back to Step Up. It's a different kind of environment now. We had a few years. We're clearly allowed to organize our parents. So I am thrilled to be back at Step Up for Students. And I formed something called the Florida Parent Network, which really means we're all in this together. We support a parent's right to choose whatever school works best for their kids. This includes district-run schools, private schools, everything you see here, charter schools, magnet programs, vouchers, scholarships to private schools, virtual programs work for so many kids, and homeschools. Those work as well. We don't care what you choose as long as it's a good one, and we support all parents. We know that a threat to one of us is a threat to all of us. So we are forming a parent army in Florida. We are a model for the nation, and we are coming together to make sure that these rights are secured by all parents. Okay, we have another poll, so I would like to share this one with you because I'm curious. I'd like to know what kind of schools your children attend. You can check the box for more than one, because some of us have more than one kid, and sometimes even if we only have one child, they go to different kinds of schools like mine did. So please just kind of check whatever is appropriate. If you have kids who are in private schools, are they in your regular district-run neighborhood schools? Perhaps you have some kids in charter schools or virtual schools, or maybe you teach them at home. My hat's off to you if you do that. But go ahead and check whatever works for your family. I'll give you another couple of seconds and we'll share the results with everybody. See what kind of parents we have in the audience. We're almost up to 90%. Just a few more of you. Check some of those boxes. If they don't apply, then and you're just a supporter, that's fine too. We're happy to have all of you participating in this webinar. Okay, I think everybody has voted. So let me see. So my hope is that you can see it. We have the vast majority of you, 74%, have your children in private schools. 20% of you are in district-run schools, which I'm happy to see. That you're, even if you only have like one child in a district-run school, it means you support what we're doing here, and you support parents' right to choose whatever works for their kids. Charter schools, 10% of you, 6% are in virtual schools, and 22% of you are homeschooled. Well, we need each other, guys. That's what this whole webinar is about. We need each other because the Florida Parent Network can't do it I can't do it on my own. Our staff can't do it on their own. We need you. So what do we need you to do? Well, it depends. Sometimes I'm going to call you up and I'm going to say I need you to make phone calls to your lawmakers. That's very important. I'll tell you what to say. You can go by the script, or you can make it up as you go along. I encourage parents to tell their own stories. but we need you to make those phone calls. Sometimes we need you to send an email to your lawmaker. Again, I'll write the email. I will encourage you to add your own story so that the lawmaker can really learn about this program through your eyes. But if you're busy and you've got a lot going on, like so many of us do, you're juggling a million things, you can really just look at your phone, kind of hit the little envelope, and the email is sent for you. Sometimes I need parents to go to Tallahassee and speak before a committee, or go to their district office and speak to a lawmaker. Sometimes, as you saw before, I need you to go to school board meetings. Those are very important. Blog comments. It might sound silly, it takes less than 5 minutes, but as you heard before, so many of you get on and make a blog comment. You are changing thousands of readers' minds. You're changing editorial directors. You're changing reporters' minds. It's very, very important. Newspaper reporters sometimes call me and they say they want to talk to a parent in Martin County. I need to be able to put them in touch with you. Letters to editors and op-eds. We will help you every step of the way, but sometimes we need parents to write letters to editors and op-eds. We need you to get on social media. If you're not on Twitter or Facebook, please consider getting on there. You know, you can use a fake name even if you want, but calling out our lawmakers on social media gets their attention. And it's free and it's effective. So please consider getting on social media. And also consider going back to your school and asking to host a parent meeting. One of the staff members on the Florida Parent Network will come to your school, bring pizza, bring free giveaways, and give this workshop in person. Give parents a chance to tell their story in person and get certified at the same time. So please consider going back to your school and asking them to host one of us. That would be, all of these things are the ways that you can help. When I do ask you to make blog comments, I'm going to ask you to avoid talking about these subjects. These subjects, let me just tell you, our opponents would love for you to talk about this stuff. The last thing they want to do is hear about your children. They would love for you to talk about how you pay taxes, and then they can argue about taxes and tax credits for 20 minutes, and then your time is up and you have to go. And no one's heard about the real reason you're there. So please avoid discussing taxes, tax credits. If you disagree with funding issues, now is not the time to discuss it. Please do not bash public schools or district policies you disagree with. If our opponents hear us bash public schools or school districts or their policies, they will become defensive and they will not hear you. They will not hear anything that you have to say, and we want them to hear you. We don't want those walls to go up. Not only that, but if we're going into a meeting asking them to respect our choices, we're going to respect theirs as well. And I can tell you, I was a public school teacher for 8 years. My children attend their district-run schools. So I would hate to hear anybody speak badly about them. So please refrain from bashing public schools or district policies. School grades do not matter. I'm not talking about your children's grades. I'm talking about the grades of the schools. They do not matter. There are children who are in what are rated F schools, but they are graduating and going on to Ivy League universities. They should not be made to leave. And there are kids in A schools who are struggling, and those kids should not be made to stay. So school grades don't matter. It would also be great if you never talked about high stakes testing or Common Core. That's not why we're there. And so if you could leave that out, that would be awesome. Also, I'm going to ask that you not talk about politics or your political views or what party you belong to, because as you know, the day and time that we are living in it's fragmenting, and it's breaking people apart. And sometimes if you say you're a member of a political party, the opposite side just automatically won't listen to you. And again, we're there to be heard. And so I don't want any barriers to that. So please don't mention, I mentioned that I'm a 27-year activist with the Democratic Party because I'm your organizer, and I want you to know where I come from and my background. But really, that's the only time it's ever discussed. Also, it'd be great if you didn't bring up DC, because it's quite a hot topic right now, but Washington, D.C. and the federal government, the president, his cabinet, none of it matters to our program. We are a state-run program. So our rules and regulations are defined by the state legislature. Your state representatives, your state senators, and your governor are the people that we will be contacting to improve our program, and the people we will be contacting if we are fighting any threats to our program. So DC doesn't matter. You don't ever have to bring that up. So what do I want you to speak about? Well, I really want you to speak about your children, and if you're a teacher, I'd love for you to speak about your students. I'm sure you have some amazing stories. I'm a parent, and I can tell you, I can go on for hours about my kids. A lot of times, you're only going to have 3 minutes, sometimes not even that, to tell your story before a lawmaker, before a committee, maybe only a few precious characters on a blog comment or Twitter. You just don't have much time. And so we have to use it all to the best of our ability and spend every second of those 3 minutes talking about your children or your students. Why does your school work for your kids? That's what you need to tell them. Why did you choose this particular school? How has your child improved? If they left a district-run school and are doing well now in a private school, tell us how they're doing and how they've changed. Have their grades changed? Do they have better behavior now, better habits? Most parents tell me the reason why they chose their particular school is because it's safe. Their child was being bullied before, and they wanted to put their child in a safer environment. So tell us about that. That's what the lawmakers need to hear. They need to hear what's changed in your child's life since joining this private school. Are they sleeping better at night? Are they less afraid to go to school? Are they making better choices now because they're safer and happier? If your child isn't afraid to raise his hand and go down the hall to the bathroom, chances are your child is studying more, is paying attention more in class, grades are improving. Perhaps they're getting math where they didn't before, or they're getting language arts where they didn't before. Tell us those stories. Are there teachers at these schools who care for your children? Tell us about that. So many of you tell me all the time that these schools are more like families, that you call your teacher and they call you right back. They love your kids, and you're all part of one big family. Those are the kinds of stories that lawmakers need to hear. Those are the kind of stories that our opponents need to hear. They want to make it about so many different things. It's about our kids. It's about why your family needs a choice. Personal stories that tell us your unique situation. And don't ever be afraid to tell anyone that you have a right as a parent to choose the school that works best for your children. Now, most of our schools are religious in nature, and the name of the school is religious. I think that's fine. Share with us the name of your school and why it works for your children. But I will ask you to avoid using religious names, religious text, or beliefs. Please don't quote the Bible. Please don't tell us what Jesus, Muhammad, God, Allah, Moses wants. I'm going to ask that you leave all that religious imagery out, because when our parents go in there and use religious imagery to make their argument, they'll see one or two people kind of nod. But those people are already supporting us. They already think what we're doing is great. We want the other ones. We want the ones who are like me, who are not religious, who are a little worried about religion in schools. So how do you get people like me? Well, talk about shared values. I don't care which side of the spectrum you're on. Most of us agree that children deserve to be safe. They deserve to be in a school where they are loved and cherished and accepted. They deserve to be in a school where they are not teased or made fun of for what they believe. We all agree that children should be in a safe, comforting, supportive environment for school. And that's what you should focus on. Tell us about how your kid eats lunch with other children who share the same values that you have at home. Usually religious schools are a peaceful setting. There's safety and support there. Please talk about that. Many of you are in religious schools that have high graduation rates. So go to your school and ask them, and then bring those numbers to our opponents and talk to them about the kids that graduate from your school. Oftentimes, your kids are graduating with acceptances to college. They're going on to the military or a job they're well prepared for. And if they're doing these things, then they are contributing to the public good. Everybody in your neighborhood benefits when a child is in a school that works for him, because he graduates and he doesn't commit crimes, he doesn't do drugs, he's not in jail. He's going on to college, he's going on to a successful future in the military or a job that he's well prepared for. And that means that your graduates from your school are contributing to the public good and breaking the cycle of generational poverty. So please talk about that. Any chance you can get. It's important to remind all of us that these religious schools are a valuable part of our community. Again, please, when you are doing these things, when you're making your blog comments or calling your lawmakers, please don't bash district-run schools. Stay positive. Focus on why your schools work for your kids. I know it's hard. Some of you have had really horrible experiences back in those district-run schools, but I'm going to ask you to, instead of saying what didn't work, talk to us about what does work. And you will see that you can easily change hearts and minds more than you ever could before. So, when you go to these meetings, I want you to understand that you will the lawmakers will be happy to see you. Even the lawmakers who disagree with us, they will be polite to you. They will thank you for being there. Lawmakers have to look at hundreds of bills every session. They can't possibly know everything about all of them. They really rely on you. Lots of my parents will say, oh, you know, I hate going into these meetings because those lawmakers, they're in a suit and tie, they've got their name on a badge, they clearly know more than me. They don't. So many lawmakers get confused. They don't understand the difference between scholarships. They'll say, oh, I love Step Up for Students. Your scholarships pay for charter schools. No, charter schools are free, and you just kind of have to smile to yourself and think back to what I'm telling you right now, and that is that you know more about this program, and you definitely know more about your children than anybody else. So I want you to go in there confident and happy. If we're setting up, if we get in touch with you and we say, please come to a delegation meeting or please come to a committee meeting, we are going to pay you for travel to Tallahassee. We're going to reimburse you. So anything you spend on gas, lodging, food, we're going to reimburse you for that. We're also going to be with you every step of the way. We're going to sit with you at delegation meetings. We're going to sit with you at lawmaker meetings. Some parents say, oh, I don't want to go and talk about my kids because I'll cry. Well, I think when we talk about our babies, it does get emotional. And I think that's okay. We have lobbyists, we have lawyers, and they're wonderful, but sometimes they can sound almost mechanical. And moms and dads don't, and they need to hear that. And if we're with you, we bring tissue for ourselves and for you, and we're right there with you. We'll hold your hand through the whole thing. So I want you to be secure in that. The only place you will get negative feedback usually is online, when you're making blog comments or you're posting something on Facebook. We're all used to that. We know how the internet works. But I wanted to give you some just examples here in case you want to argue back. You certainly don't have to, but I want to give you some ammunition if you do. So one of the things people will say is that they love Step Up for Students. They just think we should be more accountable. Well, remind them that this program is very accountable. If you don't agree with the way your child is being educated, you take your scholarship somewhere else. With district-run schools, you're stuck in that neighborhood. And if you can't afford to move and you can't afford a private school, you have nowhere else to go. So this is the ultimate in accountability. You run that scholarship and you take that scholarship wherever you want. Also, when they're talking about accountability, they really mean testing. So whatever schools, whatever test they hate, they want your school to give the exact same one. So you can remind them that by law, every child on scholarship has to take a standardized test approved by the Department of Education. Not approved by Step Up for Students, but approved by the DOE, the State Department of Education. And every year for the last, I think, 12 years in a row, those scores have been sent to a third party who looks at all the data and has determined that our students not only show gains after being in this program, but the students back at the school they left show gains as well. Once again, proving what we are saying here. Everyone benefits when children are in schools that work for them. Another argument they might say is that we're growing too fast. They supported Step Up when it was like 100 kids, but now we've got over 100,000 kids. And you just remind them that there's a waiting list, that there are kids who don't know about our program, and then ask them who they'd say no to. Tell them about your story and ask them if you're too much. Are you the one that they would say no to? You can tell them about a mother at St. Joseph Catholic School in Tampa who had her 2 daughters at that school their whole lives. And when they were a little bit older, 6th and 7th grade, I think, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, had to go on scholarship because she couldn't work anymore. Would they suggest that those girls not attend the school, that in the middle of everything else they're going through, that they should leave that school and go back to a public one? We don't think so. So remind them that there are real people behind these numbers and encourage them to learn more about the parents that are choosing this for their kids. Also, they like to say that we're draining money from district-run schools. That's not true at all. The state pays a certain dollar amount, like between $7,000 and $11,000 per kid. Our scholarships are not nearly that much. We save the state several $1 million every year. Also, you might want to encourage them to think a little bit differently about the funding issue. You know, I was once at a school board meeting in Sarasota, and a member of the Sarasota school board came up to me and was kind of yelling and screaming about how Step Up is stealing her kids away. You know, I think we have like a couple hundred kids in her county in our program, and she was screaming and yelling at me that that we were stealing her kids, we were stealing her money. That was her money, and I had to wait until she quieted down before I told her that that's not her money. That funding actually belongs to the children, and those aren't her children. They have parents, and parents have a right to choose the best school for them. And it's just a way, we need to remind people about that more and more. The districts really do believe that that's their funding, and it's not. It belongs to the children, and we need to remind them about that. That's who we're here for. So my last poll that I'm just curious again about you all and the participants. Have you participated in any of the following? So those of you who are parents listening in, please click the scholarship program that you've participated in. And if it's none of the above, then you can click on none of the above. But I'm just curious as to who our participants are. And again, you know, I'm curious as to which program we have the most participants from. So I'll give you another minute or so. And alrighty, Just a few more of you. I'd love to get 100% voting. So if you're a supporter and you haven't used any of these scholarship programs, or maybe you have your kids in charter schools or district-run schools, you can definitely click on none of the above. We have a lot of Gardiner parents in the audience. That's fantastic. Love to see that. I'm happy to see that some of you participate in the Opportunity Scholarship Program too. That's a great program that more and more parents should be aware of. Okay, I'll go ahead and close this and share with you. Okay, so we've got 29% on the tax credit scholarship program, 54% on the Gardiner program, and then the McKay Scholarship Program, 19%. Outstanding. Thanks for participating in that. All right, so when you speak before a committee, or you're making that phone call or sending an email, please include a request for action and be as specific as possible. Lawmakers get so confused. So be sure to ask them tell them what you want them to do. Do you want them to support the program? Do you want them to vote yes for a particular bill? Or is this going to the governor? Do you want them to sign a bill? Always be as specific as possible, and always, always, always include a request for action. Thank you for your time. Doesn't hurt to be polite, so you always thank them for their time. Please declare yourself a voter. Tell them that you are voting and that you are watching them. Nothing gets them more nervous or the rest of us as happy as when somebody says, I'm a voter and I'm going to be watching you. If you need to re-register, maybe you need to change your address, please let me know. If you're not registered to vote, give me a call. I'll walk you through it. It's the best way to hold our lawmakers accountable. And remind them that this is the social justice issue of our time. We're making sure that equal opportunity for education goes to everybody, not just those who can afford it. Also, when you're referring to tax credit scholarships, please call them that. Tax credit scholarships, not step-up scholarships. We're so flattered that you consider us one and the same, but step-up is a scholarship provider, not the scholarship program itself. So, and also, if you're talking about charter schools, I just want to remind everybody that charter schools are public schools. Every single charter school in Florida is a public school. It is free and it is open to the public, so please always be aware of that. Sometimes they like to pit one kind of education against another, but again, we think about the kids, and they are all students and they all deserve equal funding. So if this is something that you think you can do, that you might be able to respond to some requests to make blog comments or make a phone call to your lawmaker, I can't tell you enough how valuable your time is and how much help you give in expanding this program and making it better. So please take out your phone. I know I asked you to put it away, but please take it back out. And what I'd love for you to do is go to your little kind of thought bubble there that says messages or text messages. Click on that and then open up a new box to send a text message. And for the number, dial 52886. It's as simple as that, just 52886. And then you hit return, or you go into the little text message box and you just text in F for Florida, P for parent, and an N for network. So FPN for Florida Parent Network, and hit send. When you do that, it might take a little bit of time, but they're going to send you back some questions, and they're going to ask you. You just click yes to anything you want to learn more about. Or if there's a bill that's going to benefit charter schools and you want to know about it, write yes for charter. If there's a bill that's coming out that's going to improve the Gardiner program, or it's going to improve the tax credit scholarship program, click yes or write yes for those. McKay Scholarship, same thing. Just type in yes for whatever you want to hear more about and hit enter, and that's it. You are now a school choice warrior. You are part of our parent army, and I will keep you in the loop. I will let you know when there are articles that need comments, when there are reporters who want to talk to parents, when there's free trips to Tallahassee coming up, when we need you to go with us to a lawmaker's office in your district and sit down and talk to them about the program. These are all things I'll let you know about, and then you can sign up for whatever works. So please consider doing that. Like I said before, and 100 times I think, it's just, you are the foundation of our movement and the most important advocates we have. So I also want you to look, you should have 3 different links in your control panel, the handouts. There are 3 different ones there, and it says how to become a certified parent advocate. There's one in English, there's one in Spanish, and there is one in French Creole. Please download the file that works for you, and that's what I'd love for you to fill out, answer the questions. If you'd like to, what I'm going to ask you to do real quick is actually think for a moment about why you chose your program or school. You can open up a Word document. You can open one of these documents that I have attached to this. You can write it in there, whatever works. Even if you have like a piece of paper and a pencil next to you, you can write it there. But I'm going to give you a minute or two just to write down some ideas about why you chose your program or school. How has it helped your child? What do you want your lawmaker to do? And then please don't forget to keep it under 2 minutes. So this is an opportunity for you to practice. I would love to have you think about, just if you were giving a speech before a lawmaker or you were writing something on a blog comment, just write down what you would write in that circumstance. And like I'm going to mute myself for about a minute or so, give you a chance to just write this down, and then we'll come back, and I'm hoping maybe 1 or 2 of you, maybe more, will share with us your story. So again, take a few minutes, and I will come back in about a minute or so, and we'll maybe share with the whole group. Okay, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Like I said, I would love for you all to be able to share, anyone who wants to can use this opportunity kind of to share their story, why they chose their program or school, how it's helped their child. I'd love for the rest of us to kind of just listen, be present, make sure again that your phone and everything is turned off. And I want to give any parent who wants a chance to practice reading their statement to be able to go ahead and do that. So if you do, you can like raise your hand or just click on the questions, and then just kind of, David, I know David Tudhill is kind of standing by taking a lot of questions, and then if he wants to, he can just kind of let us know if anybody wants to talk out loud.
Hi, Catherine. Yeah, I think, let me see if this works. We're going to start with Leah Brooks. Leah, can you hear me? You're unmuted. Okay, let's try Alicia Williams. Alicia, I'm having trouble unmuting Catherine. Okay, let's go to Amy Thompson. Well, when I click the mute button, nothing is happening. So maybe on your end, can you try to unmute someone with their hand raised, Catherine?
Yeah, let me see if I can. So let's see. So what was the name, Alicia Williams?
Yeah.
Oh, it says she's self-muted.
Okay.
So I've unmuted her, but she's self-muted. That's what it says. There.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Hi, Alicia. How are you?
I am good. Okay, actually the reason why I chose the school that I did, it kind of worked out in a good situation. But the school that my children had originally gone to had closed. So it was at the last minute. I had to find a school, and I didn't have a lot of money. So somebody recommended a school that had minimal additional cost. And to be honest, that's the reason that that was the main reason that I chose the school, and then that it had the smaller class sizes, which turned out to be good. It was a small school with a family-like setting, which was really good because my oldest child, she didn't work well in larger settings like in public. So the smaller setting within the classroom really worked out well for her. And then I would like the lawmakers to basically support an opportunity for my kids to go to a private school, which I probably wouldn't be able to afford otherwise.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Everybody should know that Ms. Williams is one of our superstars. She's been active as an advocate for a couple years now, I think, and just so appreciate the help that she gives for all our parents. David, what was another name that you wanted me to unmute?
Let's try Lori Kasparek. Lori, can you hear me?
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Well, I started many years ago with the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship, but when the Gardiner Scholarship became available, I transferred my daughter over to that because she has some disabilities. She was in private school for 8 years, but now she's being homeschooled. They couldn't meet the needs that she has between her therapies and all the different things, but without the scholarship, I was a single mother all my life. I could never have done this without the scholarship. Never in a million years could I have done it. She's getting the therapy she needs. She's now in 9th grade. She's really, really doing well. And without it, I could not have asked for anything better in my life because I lost a child to the system with disabilities who's now 31 years old. And if this was available years ago, I might have been able to save her. So that's it.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I appreciate that. David, anybody else raising their hand to share?
We have several. Let's go to Louise. Hold on. Louise, you need to unmute your mic. I'm trying to unmute you. Can you unmute? Okay. Let's try Maria. Catherine, you want to pick one? I'm having the same problem again.
Yeah, let me try. What was one? Oh, I can see. Okay, so it's all these ones. Let me see. Tracy.
Tracy, can you hear us?
I sure can. How is everybody tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry I'm late.
Another one of our speakers.
Yeah, I actually started advocating for this program about 10 years before it became a program, and I continue to advocate every day. We chose an umbrella school because my son needs the flexibility to pursue what interests him, because a lot of times our kids, especially in the spectrum, they are narrow focused on their interests, and they really see no purpose in other things, so they just can't attend. And by using the umbrella school, we don't have to have those annual reviews by the school board. We've had a history with 3 different school districts where a program would start to work and they would get rid of it, and we would be stuck using whatever they felt like using, even if it was unsuccessful. The lawmakers, it would be very helpful, I think, from a parent's point of view, to be involved more in the drafting sessions instead of waiting until it's at hearings or things like that, because a lot of times, and I talked to Senator Galvano at Family Cafe and asked him, I said, you know, where do you get the intent behind some of the phrases used in the statutes? And we talked specifically about the phrase special education programs or special programs, and they just never considered that the definition that they were using was exclusionary. And that's, I think, where some of the issues come from, is that they just didn't think of it. They didn't see it from our side. So I think it's very important that parents are involved sooner, that we're involved at all stages of the new statutes, the new regulations, and especially policy changes. We would like to help more so it's less confusing, and matter of fact, that's what we do in our group, is help parents understand the program. So anything like that, that's what we would like to do.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And then let's see, Daisham Robinson.
Yes, can you hear me?
Sure can.
All right, perfect. I chose a charter school because my kids, they went to actually a grade A school, but they weren't really equipped to teach my youngest son, who is on the spectrum. You know, he was having a lot of issues, getting in trouble and going to the principal's offices of that nature. So before I decided to actually put him in private school, because I didn't want to separate the 2 of my children, one going to private, one going to public, because it's kind of expensive, I chose the charter school. And it happened to be a new charter school that just recently opened, and just how acceptable they were of my son, and the classroom environment being, really small, and teachers actually, knowing how to teach a child who's on the spectrum and having the patience and understanding his behaviors and things like that. It really made me excited that I didn't actually have to pull one child to a private and keep another child in public. So that what prompted me to stay in the charter school system. Something that I would like, the lawmakers to do is have those educators, have the resources for the educators more readily available to teach, you know, to be equipped to teach kids on the spectrum, because like you said, a lot of parents don't know about the different scholarships that are out here for their kids, and you know, they just settle for what the school tells them or what the district tells them that they're available, what's available for them, and sometimes their kids get lost, you know, in the wayside. So that's what I would like to see, to be able to have those educators have that resource available to them so they can learn more about the different disabilities and how to actually, you know, teach the children.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
And I guess Lisa Adams is next.
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
I chose to put my daughter in a private school. I'm not originally from Florida. We came from Missouri. And in Missouri, they have what's called the special school district. My daughter is on the spectrum, too. And it was a struggle. I was one of the parents that got forced to stay in for a year before I could get out. And it definitely was a struggle. I have seen nothing but improvement from my daughter. And actually, for the first time last school year, she walked into school by herself, that she's never done, and she's in the 5th grade. So it's, you know, I mean, I tear up just thinking about the advancement that she's made because of your program. And that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in doing this, is because I don't think parents realize, you know, what parents like me, if I didn't have the choice, I would have had to have quit my job and moved back to where I got transferred from, because she couldn't have stayed where she was at.
Right, yeah, no, I understand. That's a wonderful story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you for all you've done.
Absolutely. Now, we don't have much time left, but I do want to just give you all an opportunity to hear from Wevlyn Graves. She's kind of another one of our superstar parents. And Wevlyn, if you could just kind of talk to us a little bit about kind of how it works when you go and you write those letters to editors or op-eds, and kind of let everybody know it's not so scary.
Can you guys hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like standing in Publix right now. I'm trying to get some food for my children. But anyway, one thing that I can honestly say is that people actually listen and they actually read blogs. That's the one area that I've worked a lot in, is just writing blog posts just about my story, just about bringing awareness to the different opportunities we have with the different programs that are allotted to us through the tax-free scholarship. I can honestly say I've had parents, once they hear my name, walk up to me and are thankful for the story. When you're writing, you actually have someone that's there with you, going through your whole story and asking you, you know, if this is okay, if we also add this or add that. You actually, you know, the people who are asking for these blog posts and these newspaper articles, they actually are there to walk you through every step of the process. So it's definitely not a scary situation. You actually feel supported. If you've never felt supported before, you feel supported sharing your story, sharing your experience with different people. And the more and more that you do it, the more comfortable you become walking up to lawmakers and speaking in front of people, because that's the one thing that it has really caused me to want to bring awareness and for people to understand what this scholarship or the scholarship programs that are out there, what they actually do in the advancement that they create for our children.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, because, yeah, like I said, it's scary for parents who don't maybe have an idea about what the process is. But once you get started, you're going to get so much support from us. and we're going to continue to just kind of walk you through the whole process from beginning to end. So thanks, Evelyn, for that.
No problem.
Everybody else, what I would love for you to do is to fill out the handouts that you get. Now, if you can't download the handouts, I've gotten a couple emails from people who can't click on the handouts or they're not able to get it because they're on the phone. I will just send an email to me or a text to me. You can hit reply to any of the emails I send. It'll come right back to me, and I will send you a handout. But what I'd love for you all to do once you get that is to take the quiz that's in there, and please take your time. But everything in that quiz we've gone over. So when you get the video of this PowerPoint, you can go through it and find all the answers. So take your time. You don't have to rush, but take that quiz and email that Word document to my email address, which is crobinson@stepupforstudents.org. And like I said, you don't have to write that down. You'll get it in the video. But email me that, and all I need is your quiz, and your testimony would be great, and your information, your name, your telephone number, all of that. And then I'll get those certificates emailed to you as soon as possible. If you have questions, David and I are going to stick around and answer them. So definitely when everybody else logs out, you just stay on the call and raise your hand or send a question to him, and we'll try to answer them as best we can. But everybody else, just thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for participating. We certainly appreciate it. So everybody is more than welcome to sign out, log off, and anybody else that has questions, we're gonna attempt to answer them. Yeah, like David said, please, everyone who would like to speak, just make sure that your side of the audio is unmuted. We have everyone muted here, but we'll unmute you. And happy to take your questions, answer them. David, do you want me to do that? Do you want me to unmute people who have questions?
Yeah, that would be great, because I'm still I'm backed up in the chat. So if you want to handle the audio, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, Lisa Adams, you had a question?
Where did you say that we get the papers? Because I don't see them.
Okay, it should say handouts in your control panel, and then there's 3 like links. They should be highlighted. One says how to become a parent. Well, they all say how to become a parent advocate. The first one is in English, the second one is in French Creole, and the third one is in Spanish. But
maybe I'm just not able to see them right now.
Well, you know what? Don't worry about it then. If you want to email me, email me at crobinson@stepupforstudents.org, and
okay.
I will just email back to you right away.
I will do that. I'm going to go ahead and log off then. That's the only question I had.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Have a great night.
Thank you.
And Monique Nelson, you have a question? Looks like Monique Nelson has a question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Hi, I sure can.
Good evening. Yes, I had the same question there. I have not received any of those handouts in my email. I'm not sure if we're going to receive those later on or...
No, actually they should be in your control panel, the same control panel that you used to ask this question, to raise your hand. It should be in there under handouts. But if it's not, don't worry about it. Email me at crobinson@stepupforstudents.org. Anybody on the call who wants to email me, go to my email address is crobinson@stepupforstudents.org. If you email me I need a handout, I will email it back to you right away.
And I'm writing down.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm writing down the email of everyone in the room who wrote their emails, and we'll get you handouts as well. So don't worry about it.
Okay, great, great. So if you guys sent your email address into David, he's collecting them, and we'll get the handouts to you as well. We want everybody to make sure that they get credit for this, for being on this. So, Doreen Sloan, you are on.
Hi, I am a special educator in an elementary school and also a parent with a child on the Gardiner scholarship. How do I advocate for my students and not get in trouble with my school district?
Okay, well, you so you work at a public school district, and
Yes.
Okay, that's a great question. If you sign up via the text messaging way that I gave you, or any other way, if I happen to have your email address and I send out a call to action, you can pick whichever kind of call to action that you feel most comfortable with. So if I'm asking you to call a lawmaker, you can definitely do that, and no one will know. No one will have any idea at your work that you've done that. You can also email your lawmakers. Now, a lot of that is made public, but the school districts don't make a habit of going in and asking. I mean, that's a slippery slope there that they don't really want to get involved in. So they're not going to we have lots and lots of public school teachers who participate in this program and who advocate for their kids. We have moms who are school district teachers, and they write op-eds, they write letters to editors, but you should never do anything you're not comfortable with. So if you don't feel comfortable taking a very public stance, you can still advocate by making those phone calls and emails and letting your lawmaker know personally that you want him or her to vote a certain way.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye. Okay, let's see. Lori Kasprak, you are unmuted.
I'm sorry, I needed the handouts as well, but that's okay. I'm sorry. I sent my email for David.
Absolutely, no problem. Thanks, Lori. We'll get those right out to you. Yolanda, you are unmuted.
Hello?
Hi, Yolanda.
I'm sorry. Hi. I just wanted to say thank you, and actually be emailing you about certain things. So I just wanted to say thanks.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Have a wonderful night. Brenda Morales, you are unmuted, but you are self-muted. Oh, no, now she's offline, so she's good. How about Louise? Louise,
yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hi.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so happy you guys can hear me. You don't know how much I appreciate you guys so much. I had my daughter, and she was going to a public school, not to say anything bad about it because I love the school. It's an A school. But she was having so much issues because of religion-wise. She was forming little groups with her friends to pray and stuff like that. And I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. And I didn't know what to do because she wasn't being herself, and then she started to switch, you know, like you teach her something at home, and then when she come back and her attitude was changing because of the things that she was faced with at school. And when someone told me about the Step Up for Student, and I was allowed to, you know, I found a school that's a Seventh-day Adventist as well, which is our belief, and she was able to go there, and I didn't have to come out so much out of pocket. It was like a prayer answered. It was like a miracle. So, and that's why I cannot wait to be part of the Parent Advocate, to do whatever I can to make a difference, because it made a difference in my life. My daughter is so active in school. She's part of the praise team. She plays volleyball. Her grades is up. It's amazing. That is like, I can even tell you how much it has changed her. And because of you guys, if you guys weren't there, I would never be able to do that. I wouldn't even know where would I be now with her and with the way she was changing. So I'm just very happy to be able to talk to you, one of you guys. So it was I'm just very happy about that.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Louise. I appreciate it, and we're really, really so happy to have you. And then it looks like the last question we have is from Maria. But for some reason it's saying you cannot be unmuted until you send your PIN. So if you have any questions, Maria, please feel free to email me, and I am happy to help you with anything you need, or you can call me. My email address, again, for everybody who might need it, crobinson@stepupforstudents.org. And let's see. And my phone number is 813-453-4274. Oh, Maria, might be that. Okay. And those are all the questions that I have. David, what about you? You still chatting?
I'm still chatting over here, but finishing up.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Like I said, please call me or email me if you have any questions or concerns. But I'll be getting those certificates out to everybody who gets in touch with me. And again, thank you so much for participating in all of this. I really do appreciate it. David, I'm not going to end the broadcast because I don't want to stop you from chatting with everybody and helping them. So whenever you're done, just let me know, and then I'll sign out.
Okay. Amanda, I think the reason why we can't hear you is that you're self-muted. So you need to unmute your side of the line in order to hear you, because right now I've unmuted you. And the only pop-up that's popping up says self-muted, which means it's coming from your end. So I'll keep you unmuted for a few more minutes while I continue to ask questions, but let me know if you unmute, you'll be able to start talking.
Hello?
Amanda, is that you?
Yes.
Hi, how's it going? Sorry about that.
No, I just had a question. My son is in like a private, but they follow the charter school, I guess, rules and regulations. But they were saying that he needs to go to a public school due to his epilepsy and ADD and ADHD. But I don't know what scholarship would be good to help him.
The Gardiner scholarship and the FTC scholarships they do not apply to district-run schools, because district-run schools are free. So if you're trying to apply for or stay on our scholarships, then if you enroll your student in a district-run public school, they would not be eligible for the scholarship.
Oh, that he wouldn't be able to be eligible because he has the step-up scholarship now.
So he's enrolled in a private school that takes the Florida tax credit scholarship, which you would probably know as the step-up scholarship. So yeah, if you were to enroll in a public school, a district-run school, then he would not be eligible for that scholarship anymore, because district-run schools are free of charge. If you have certain special needs, you might consider you might consider applying for the Gardiner scholarship if he has some of the special needs that are covered under the Gardiner scholarship. I guess I'm not sure if I'm answering your question as well as you'd like, so I would definitely recommend you go to our website at stepupforstudents.org. We have an entire call center dedicated to these questions. They should be able to help you out.
Okay, all right.
So thank you so much, Amanda.
All right, thank you very much.
That was good, David.
Well, thank you, Catherine. I think we have another question. Lori?
Yes, David, I do have a question here for you. My daughter's on the Gardiner scholarship with special needs. Okay, and I don't know whether you can help me or not. I've written to SUFS. I've written to the Florida Department of Education, but they don't seem to help me. I have a lot of proof in black and white that the reason I took my daughter out of the private school she was in was her funds were being mishandled. I'm not the only parent from the school that the children's funds have been mishandled, and I believe that, to me, it's like a fraud. And I did write a letter to the Florida Department of Education, and I did write it to SUFS, and I'm still not getting anywhere. The thing was, things had changed a lot at the beginning of this school year. My daughter wasn't even in school 3 days, and she was asked to leave the school because I told them, hey, listen, you're charging all this money to the Gardiner scholarship, but yet you're not doing this for my daughter. So basically that was during open house, and she said, well, and I have it via text that, well, what you need to do is you need to approve the semester, which I did, and then we will talk after you approve it. So, okay, I did that. So within 3 days, the day she received the funding from my daughter's scholarship, she was asked to leave the school. And I am not the only one that's being, I have another parent, I have names of other parents, and there is one school that's misusing these funds. And I really have a big problem here, David, because the Florida Department of Education wrote back basically saying, well, there's nothing we can do because you approved these funds, but she was only in school for 3 days and you're going to take that much money out of her scholarship. You know, she's a special needs child where I have to bring her to therapy a couple times a week and stuff like that. And I'm just at the point where I need to advocate because I really feel that I was brought to that school to advocate for these children. But
Right.
where do I go for something like this? Because I just feel like, for instance, another mother, her child was charged all summer for summer school, but yet her child never attended summer school.
And this is at the same school?
Yes, ma'am, it is. And because of this is why I took my daughter out of school this year. But I have proof of all this. I mean, in black and white.
I understand, and it's a lengthy process, but this is the only process that exists. And so
okay.
what you need to do is so if you reached out to the Department of Education,
I did,
and filed a complaint, I would encourage you to ask the other parents who have similar complaints to file a complaint as well. So
okay, I will.
The first step. And so unfortunately they're going to need more than just one parent's point of view. So ask all the parents who can to please get in touch with the Department of Education, because Step Up for Students doesn't decide which schools participate and which schools don't. It's up to the Department of Education. It's nothing that we have any control over. So so definitely get in touch with the DOE. And then also there's an email address, which it sounds like you've already done, but it's called info@StepUpForStudents.
I did. I sent my complaint there, and they've reached out to the school many, many times, and the school just has no response whatsoever, asking, because my daughter was only in the school for 3 days this year, and they felt that they should have been allowed to keep the full semester, and I just don't feel that that was right. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm more than grateful for everything. This has like opened a new world for us, but I just don't like to see schools mistreating children's money this way.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. And so again, I would give that email address to the other parents that can also share their view. And then so those are the first two steps, and the third step, it sounds like you did as well, which is leave the school and go to one that works for your child. So I know that it's not as satisfying as hearing someone say we can shut this down immediately, but please know that your viewpoint that you share with the DOE, with us, it's not being ignored. It is definitely, it's something that we need to have, but we
also need other people to come forward. Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much again for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Let's see. Ruth, you are currently self-muted, so I see your hand is up, and I've unmuted you, so if you'd like to speak. Okay, there you are. Hi, how's it going?
Hi, how are you? Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, so I'm going to second on what that mother just recently said. I actually used to work at a private school that I saw a lot of things. And actually I saw a lot of red flags going up where students with the Gardiner Scholarship, where their funds were being used not properly, and they actually weren't receiving the actual education these children should. And I don't know how many times I actually did not bite my tongue. I went up to the administrators and I told them, listen, this is not appropriate. I lost my job. Let me just say that. Because I told them, you can't be doing this. You can't be doing this. Case in point, I have to say this. I did the same thing. I reported to the Department of Education. There's really nothing much being said from there, but it's so frustrating. And what I've done, actually, I've reached out to Autism Speaks. I've signed up for their advocate group. They have an advocate ambassador program. So I've done that and actually to bring light to some parents out there, like, hey, you have total control of this. So if you have these scholarships, just stay on top of it. And I also have to say, thank God for the Gardiner Scholarship, because I have a child on the spectrum who attended a public school. And unfortunately, she was bullied by the teacher. She was on the ESC program, and she was bullied by the teacher, making my daughter, you know, she's nonverbal. She was starting to become verbal. And unfortunately, she regressed. And if it would have not been for the scholarship, I would have not been able to, you know, put my daughter in this private school. And I can't tell you that my daughter has finally been able to have full-blown conversations with me, and she's progressed so much. So I have to say that this has been like the biggest breakthrough. And you know, I'm a grad student. I'm myself paying for my schooling too. So if I would have not had this scholarship, I would not be able to like afford her schooling and our schooling. And I have to really say thank you so much, you guys. You guys do so much for the parents, so much, and more for the kids above all. I have to say thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you, Ruth. Thank you so much for sticking up for parents and for doing the right thing and for sharing your story, and good luck with school.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. If anyone has any more questions, raise your hand, type it in the chat. Speak now or forever hold your peace, okay? Tracy, did I not put your hand down from earlier, or did you have something else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I put it up a couple times. I was curious, I just saw it come through the chat too, the Parent Advisory Committee. Is that something that's going to be new people every year? Is it going to be rotating? How is that going to work?
That's a good question. I am not sure. I'm not doing the Parent Advisory Council, so I'm not sure how that works, but I know exactly who is doing it. So if you want to email me your question, I will send it off to her and I will get you an answer by tomorrow morning.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, Tracy. Bye.
Thank you, Tracy. Okay. Dana, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can. How's it going?
Terrific. Hey, thank you both so much. I really do appreciate the opportunity to hear everyone's stories and to gather the information, because prior to this, I wasn't sure, you know, exactly what this advocacy was, but it was a well laid out webinar, and I got a lot of information, and I'm looking forward to completing the form and getting that sent on to you. And I've got a question, and please, if it's something that would be, you know, better served in an email or something like that, I'm completely fine. But my question is this. My daughter has been a Gardiner recipient now, I guess, for 3 years running. My son just qualified under the category for Gardiner called anaphylaxis. And as I really I'd like to know what is going to be, it's such an easy advocacy to describe for my daughter who's spectrum. And for my son, surely I can communicate, you know, the points that I feel are beneficial, but I think I guess I want to make sure that I categorize it well if I'm, you know, called upon to discuss, because it's a new area.
Okay, so do you mean that, like, where you're filling out the application, you want to be able to fill it out correctly and talk about his diagnosis in a way that makes sense so that the people will understand? Or do you mean how do you advocate for his disability to like the general public.
The second one, exactly, Catherine, the second one, because he has been awarded. But I just want to make sure that, honestly, a diagnosis of anaphylaxis is, I mean, when I first saw it, it confused me a little bit. Certainly, owing to multiple allergies, he is at risk for anaphylaxis. And, thankfully, anaphylaxis is not something we've, had the misfortune to experience firsthand, but he carries an EpiPen, has multiple allergies. So it's the second one.
Yeah, well, you know what? I would think about, so he's getting the Gardiner scholarship, and will he be attending, will you be homeschooling him, or will he be attending a private school?
Homeschooling him. Homeschooling.
Okay, so I would just talk about why it's important that he be homeschooled. Why, and that's nothing that you don't have to share it right now, but I would just think about like what you want to tell somebody when they ask why does he have to be homeschooled. What are the dangers that might wait for him if he goes to like a district-run school where they can't be catering to the allergies that he might have. They don't have the small classroom sizes. They don't have the small the one-on-one attention that he needs. If he's had experiences in larger settings, what does that look like, and why? And I would just focus on keeping him safe. Every single parent out there can understand that. They want their children to be safe, and you want your son to be safe. Yes. And so here he's in an environment where he can get the kind of attention that he needs, where he's safe from harm, and he's thriving as a result. And then, you just kind of spend some time talking about what that looks like. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. Can I piggyback one more question onto that? Because I think that's that's kind of where my description would have been going, just, more about the safety. But can I piggyback one more question on with that then?
Absolutely.
If I don't want to, I don't want anything I say to run counter to any way in which we are schooling him. And let me be specific to tell you that he participates, as per allowance for home-educated kiddos, he participates in it happens to be a private school's sports program. And, I mean, we take all the precautions. He's always carrying his EpiPen, and on and on and on. I just want to be sure that there's nothing that I would say that would have it run counter. I wouldn't want someone to be able to rake up, well, wait a minute, if he is fit to jump on a bus and travel to a swim meet in Tampa, why is it then that you feel, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want to be caught out like that. Am I even at a risk for that, or?
No, nobody's going to call you out for that. Number one, I mean, every child is different. Nobody's going to attack a parent for wanting to keep his or her daughter or child safe. So if you're writing something on Facebook and like maybe one of your friends says that, or somebody that you're connected to might say something like that, you could always come back and say, well, you know what, they're not eating on a bus, there's no, I don't know what the allergies are specifically, but sure. But instead of, I would recommend, instead of you even defending yourself, you can just say, as a mother who cares very much for, her son, I can assure you my son is safe when he goes to these things. Otherwise, I wouldn't let him do it.
Okay, yeah, got it.
And remind them that you're the mother, that you make these decisions, that nobody loves your son more than you do, and thank them for their concern.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for being concerned, and then move on. But nobody out there is gonna, lawmakers certainly aren't going to question you or be rude to you, and neither are reporters or the general blogging public. So, yeah, you don't ever have to worry about something like that from them.
And one last item on this then. Here again, my daughter who's on spectrum, it is so simple to describe the benefits she derives and, the schedule that we homeschool, and she can receive therapy when everyone else would be in traditional schools, and she works better in the off hours, and on and on. My son, with, this indication and access to this funding by way of anaphylaxis, doesn't have any of those specific needs, let's just say. So when I am writing up, and we haven't been funded, obviously it's the first year for anaphylaxis as an indication for the scholarship. When I'm writing up requests, and I really don't mean to get specific in this way about how I'm submitting reimbursement, but my whole point is my daughter, it's kind of a slam dunk about the different therapies and things like that. My son, other than the anaphylaxis, is a student, I mean, and there's nothing remarkable I wouldn't describe about how it is. I mean, he just so happens to be schooling by way of a virtual that is not necessarily a Florida DOE, so I do not even know yet how and what would be reimbursed of his schooling expenses, but I've kind of lost myself in the question. I guess he doesn't have the same challenges that some other special needs have, and I don't want to portray that he does. All right, I'm a little lost in the question. I guess I want to make sure that I'm properly advocating for him and that people don't say, wait a minute, why is that? What's...
Yeah, but nobody is going to do that, because
okay, then.
We have so many kids who just do better in a homeschooling environment, or they just do better in a virtual school environment. So parents talk about the flexibility in scheduling. It works better for the family. Some parents have to take children to therapy, and they can't be a constant presence at a child's school. So it just works for everybody in the family to be homeschooled.
Okay.
There are a million different stories out there. Nobody should compare your daughter to your son. Nobody should compare one family's experience with another's. You just kind of talk about why it works for your family, and believe me, that by itself is good enough. That's what we all need. We all need something that works for our kids and our families, and that's all that's the only thing we're working for.
That's perfect. I just needed to know that I don't really need to necessarily have some ground to support why the anaphylaxis diagnosis is applicable, why he should avail himself of Gardiner scholarship funding. But that's all good. I got it.
Absolutely. And if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Thanks again for everything you're doing. Appreciate it. We'll see you on the next time around.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks. And it looks like Adriana has a question, so I'm just going to unmute you. But oh, it says audio pin sent, so I am unmuting you, Adriana. But I guess
I think what happened is she's on the call, but maybe didn't put in her pin. So.
Oh, okay.
So she's not eligible to speak. I think it's just a technical error. So sorry about that, Adriana, but please email us. Catherine's email is crobinson, ROBINSON, at sufs.org or stepupforstudents.org, and mine is dhudson, HUDSON, at stepupforstudents.org.
Thank you for that. Should I go through and I'm just going to unmute Julie here. Julie, it looks like you have a question that's unanswered. Julie, you're unmuted. Do you have a question? Julie Leininger? Maybe not. Okay, I'll unmute her. Mark Smith, I'll unmute you. Do you have a question, Mark? No? Okay, I'll mute you back then. And did we hear from Tracy? We did, didn't we?
Good, yes.
Okay, so she's been helped. Lori has been helped. And Adriana, we can't hear her. Is that it? Do you have any other questions that you're working on?
I'm good on this side, on the written questions. Yeah, all good.
Okay, then I am going to try to figure out how to close this seminar down. Everybody who's still on the call, I can tell you that you'll be getting a recording of this. If you have any questions, you can email me again one last time, crobinson@stepupforstudents.org. You can text me at 813-453-4274. But otherwise, everybody have a good night, and I'll hopefully see you soon.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, Catherine.